Hey y'all, it's me, Toolshed Mike. Today I'm going to be working on a new pen for my chickens. I need a new pen for my chickens because, as you can probably tell, the chickens have outgrown their current pen. I got 15 birds in this little tiny thing, and I let them out every single day, which is fine, except when I'm not able to let them out on a day. So they're gonna need something bigger. These chickens right now, I got 7 of them in this pen. I built this one many years ago. It's 10 by 10. And so I bought this thing at Tractor Supply. It's a dog run. And the problems with just using it as is, first of all, I don't have a roof or a covering. Anyone who's ever had chickens before knows when it rains, if you don't have the top covered, it smells like a swamp. It's so bad for a long time. So if you keep them dry, like these ones and these ones, that problem doesn't happen. Secondly, I back up to a creek, a spring-fed creek that flows year-round, which means I have an unlimited supply of predators back here. So if I don't keep the top covered with something solid, you know, like for instance a tarp, whatever the predator is just going to tear right through the tarp. So I've got to have something a lot more solid. So what I'm planning on doing here is, and I'm trying to do this on the cheap, it's 2022 and everything's super expensive and chickens just really aren't worth a whole lot. So unfortunately, so I'm trying to do this on the cheap. I already paid a ton for that cage, but so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna dig, and you kind of see I've got a little bit of it started here just to kind of figure out about how level this is. I'm digging down and I'm gonna pour 4 corner concrete slabs. They're just gonna, and so they're gonna be perfectly level. And then I'm going to put some weld plates on top of that, bolt them down, and then weld some 6-foot posts on all 4 corners. Then the way this thing currently goes together, the store-bought one, is it comes with these little clamps that link it together, and it supports itself, you know, by holding it together. I'm just gonna instead have both of those sides. They're gonna fit just perfectly, hopefully, if I do it all right, between those posts, and then I'll just adhere them to the posts. So I'm gonna stick all 4 corners in. Now my sides are protected and I should be good there. Oh, one thing too, after I pour the concrete posts, I'm actually gonna just throw some form boards between them and then pour concrete between them. So I'm gonna have a concrete perimeter around this, because the other problem you have, like right now, with if I just set this thing down, there's pretty sizable gaps here on the bottom, and if one of my chickens can't crawl out of that, I know at least a predator could dig under that, and chickens also like to dig. So I like to build it up a few inches, you know, 4 to 6 inches or so, and then also have it going a little bit in the ground, just so whatever, it would have to dig a long ways to get to it. That I've had a 4-inch wide by 6-inch deep concrete. It was really crummy concrete and it's eroding away really bad, but I've never had anything attempt to dig under it. Although, as you can see right here, the chickens do like digging in this corner, and they've almost come out. Not too much more digging and they'll be out to that thing. But I'm gonna use I'm gonna use a correct mix of concrete this time instead of a heavily sanded down mix. So it's a lot more solid and they can't just dig through it. So all 4 corners are going to be done. I'm going to have the 4 posts, and then I'm just going to build 2 out of square tubing, 2 triangles, and then attach some square tubing purlins to the top of that and throw my R panel on. That's my plan at this point. I guess I'm going to get started. You're free! See how many birds came out of that thing? I got the first form board put down there. It's mostly level enough, I guess. There. Pretty close, level enough. Like I said, I'll put the weld plate in and have my wife or someone hold it perfectly level as I tack it in, so I know the pipe will be level, the tube, the support. Anyway, that's 16 by 16, So internal diameter, so these are 16 inches and these are 19 inches, and I just screwed the corners in. It's gonna be square enough. And so once I get all 4 of these put in, I made it this big just for some margin of error, because normally I use embed plates whenever I do this kind of stuff, and what that is it's a weld plate with studs already connected to it. And so when you have wet concrete, you just stick it in the concrete and move it around a little bit and get it nice and plumb. The problem with that is I would have to know exactly where to set it, or else, because I have had a time where I put it in the wrong spot and I ended up like way off on the side and just having a small area where I could actually weld it on there. I don't want to do that here. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a flat plate, like a 6x6 probably, drill a hole in the middle and then put a concrete anchor. That way when I exactly know where this needs to be, I'll set it there and screw it down. And then the actual runs that connect these footers together don't have to be 16 inches. They could be, I'll probably make them 12 inches, but you know, it doesn't really matter. And then I'll just probably go from the outside to the inside, just depending on where I end up putting that, that piece. I'm gonna use bags of concrete for these just because that doesn't really take that much concrete. I need to calculate how much that's gonna need. It's not gonna need much. And then I will need to go buy enough bags to do all 4. But whenever I actually do the runs, that's gonna take a lot more concrete. So I will probably just buy some aggregate and I'll mix it up myself. And I'll do a video on how to mix it up yourself. I've done that a lot, actually. A lot of mixing my own concrete, and it's turned out really well. I have plenty of company since I let these chickens out. They're all roaming and half the time they're in my way. So they were playing around in my dirt pile just a minute ago. So that is the beautiful concrete. It's been about an hour and a half, but it's like a super hot day today. It's in like the upper 90s, lower 100s, I think. So it's gonna cure up really fast. You're supposed to keep this, well, you give it a few hours to set up to where it's not gonna take water anymore. And then you wanna keep it wet. So if I put water on it now, it's too early. Because I'll start diluting the mix. Instead, you want to kind of wait, I don't know how long. It varies based on temperature. And honestly, normally when I do concrete, I wait until it's cold outside. It's kind of crazy to do this in hot weather, but I'm also in the woods, so it's not as hot back here, and you get used to it. I'll probably give that a few more hours at least before I take the forms off. Now, I always seem to screw this one up. I always forget. I have to take the forms off by taking those screws out, and I'm gonna have to dig a little bit to get my screwdriver down there. Of course, I think if I just get one side off, I can probably get the other side off, so it's not gonna be that big of a deal. But anyway, that's what it looks like. Like I said, I poured it an hour and a half ago, and it kind of lost its sheen, and so I took my little tool with the rounded edge, and I hit the corners to give it a rounded look. And that I like that because it has less of a chance of chipping if you ever hit the corner of it. If you just have it come to a perfect square, then over time something's gonna just tap that corner. It's gonna be a weak spot and it's gonna crumble. So instead, you round the edges. It keeps from doing that. And then also it's not sharp. You know, when you touch it, you can lean up against it or something like that. It's just kind of a nicer look too. I'm probably not going to give it a broom finish. That's just the mag float over the top of it, because it doesn't really matter. It's not a walking surface. So I got 2 of these posts in now. You can see they're not exactly squared up, but they still should be located right. I'm gonna, like I said, drill and put a plate down in the right spot, so it doesn't really matter that they're not perfectly squared up. So this one's had about 6 hours to cure. Looks like I did have a chicken walk on it, but that's all right. It's probably strong enough now. Over lunch, I took the Jeep out, and the gauge on it said it was 103. So it is a hot day. It's crazy that I'm even thinking about doing this on the hottest day of the year, but it's got to get done. Like I said, I could probably pull the forms off of that, but I'm not really in a hurry to, so I'm just gonna leave them on there. And same thing on this one, I just finished doing the edges. This I just finished recently, so it needs probably a good 6 hours to secure. I got the cage around this one now, since I don't really care if the chickens step on that. It should be dry enough not to have much of a bother with the chickens.